Thanks for joining us for today's episode of The Capitalist Investor. I'm Mark Tepper, and I'm sitting here with Derek Gabrielsen. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. How's it going?
It's good, good. A lot better than the last few weeks. I'm feeling pretty good. Sun shining here in Cleveland, you know?
It makes all the difference, man.
Yeah. I've been golfing a little bit with my son.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's into it now, man. Went through, 3 times in 4 days.
Oh, really?
After never having taken him golfing ever before that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just driving range.
Right.
So I think I'm finally allowed to golf as much as I want, provided it's with my son in 9-hole increments.
That is the married man's dream right there.
I have finally reached that point. 13 years after having my first kid, I'm there, dude.
You're finally getting some payoff.
I'm there. So, hey, man, I want to I think we have a fun show lined up for today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be great.
Yeah, so what we're going to be talking about today is our first experiences with investing. Right? What those experiences were, what we learned from those experiences, what our takeaways were. I think that's going to make for a really cool show here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? So why don't you tee us off? I mean, give us a little background. What was your first experience with investing?
So, this is a really...
Don't go into too much detail because I can share mine too.
Okay. So, real quick, we're in Cleveland now. So my family moved to Cleveland from just outside of Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
So in 1990.
That's why you're a sad Bills fan, huh?
Yes, that's why I'm a sad member of the Bills Mafia.
And I'm a sad Browns fan. So
yeah. So basically after Jim Kelly retired, and if you're probably under
Thurman Thomas,
the Bills have been awful. So I moved to Cleveland. Was still a Bills fan. When the Browns drafted Brady Quinn, I was real excited about that because I'm a Notre Dame fan as well.
Yeah, he was good.
He sucks real bad.
He was really good. Man.
So now
and to think that Derek Anderson, who was actually a really effective quarterback, got railroaded.
Yeah.
Right?
Unbelievable.
Man.
We could do 100 shows on how bad the Browns and the Bills are, though. So, but anyway, so
that's like your novice trader trying to pick their first stocks versus the Browns trying to pick their crappy players, right?
Exactly.
Failure after failure.
Oh man, the Browns drafts, since '99, unbelievable.
So we've had a couple hits recently, but of course then we bail on our GM.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you finally get a guy in place who makes a few good draft picks, and bye-bye.
Yep.
All right, so you moved from Cleveland to Buffalo.
Yep, and the reason...
Or Buffalo to Cleveland, I'm sorry.
The reason that we moved was because my dad got a job at Mr. Coffee.
Yep.
So, that's probably a brand that meant a lot more probably 20 years ago or so. But it's still out there. That brand name is still slapped on coffee pots and single pot makers. But basically, my dad came in as part of the management team that was tasked, and when he first started, he really wasn't management, but basically tasked to turn that company around. Right? They were only making coffee pots. Things were kind of stagnant. Joe DiMaggio, if anyone remembers that, Joe DiMaggio was their spokesperson there for a while.
Nice.
Then
I heard that guy was so cheap he wouldn't pay for a car wash, so he would drive his car around in the rain.
Seriously?
I'm dead serious.
I had never heard that before.
I remember hilarious. Stupid pieces of information like that,
But you still have to get out and wipe it down.
I don't think so, man.
You just drive for a
He
really
would just
long
drive
time?
it around, get the mud off. Come on, dude.
Wow. So basically, the following the stock price after its IPO, I had to look all this stuff up because it was so long ago. But basically, they launched a series of successful products, which our family got to test before they went out, which was pretty cool. If anyone out there knows about the Potato Perfect, it was probably one of the worst consumer electronics products of all time. It was just so bad. It looked like one of those kind of steamers, but you'd have to jab this skewer through the potato long ways.
Oh man,
which seemed like a lawsuit waiting to happen. But once you were successfully able to do that, it did cook the potatoes okay.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
it wasn't any better than the microwave.
Yeah.
But anyway, following that stock and understanding about new products, new developments, and how it affected the stock price was really what got me into investing.
Yeah.
Which was really what got me into business in general.
Yeah.
I got to kind of watch the whole thing, unfold from the sideline, from the distance. But it was still cool to watch. It was still
No
cool,
doubt.
still cool to see. And then saw the eventual selling of that company. I think it's Signature Brands. They have a whole suite of products now, which is kind of standard for those older brands.
Yeah.
But that was really the first thing that got me into the investing world.
Yeah. That's cool. All right, so we'll come back and we'll ask some questions off of that in just a few minutes. Let me just kind of give a run through of my first investing experience, which is a little different. It has nothing to do with the stock market at all. Has nothing to do with public investing. My first investing experience is unfortunately baseball cards. So I got duped, man. I got duped way back in the day into thinking that these things were going to appreciate.
Oh yeah,
that they were going to grow in value. Did you ever get into baseball cards at all?
I was obsessed with baseball cards.
Yeah. All sports or just baseball or what?
It really
what was your thing?
started out with all sports. Or I'm sorry, it started out with baseball for sure.
Yeah.
But then quickly morphed into everything.
Yeah. Yep. So mine was mostly baseball. I had a few good football cards. Troy Aikman rookie card. It's worth no more than what I paid for it. 30 years ago, man. Mark McGuire rookie card, that was like, Boeing was before the 737 MAX was a complete bust, right? And then he got busted for steroids, and it was like Enron.
Is that
complete fake of a stock?
Is that the one where he was kind of holding the bat on the shoulder with the
one?
USA?
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, I think I got that one.
That's
still
probably worth $10 today.
Sweet.
I think I bought it for $20.
Get that bad boy
30
on eBay.
years ago. Swindled, man. Swindled. So, look, I think, talking about the whole baseball card experience will be fun after we kind of go through your situation. We'll talk about the more serious, investing in stocks. I didn't invest in any stocks until after college. I was broke, man. I tried selling my baseball cards in college to pay for some beer, dude. Nobody would buy them from me,
Nobody.
The reason I this actually even popped into my mind is I got a buddy out there, Aram. What's up if you're listening? He's been posting all of his baseball cards, his error card, the John Smoltz card with Tom Glavine's face on it, all of his, error cards that are supposed to be worth a lot of money. And I'm like, hey, bro, how much those cards are really worth? I tried selling mine one time in college. Guess how much I got? Zero.
0.00.
Not a dollar. So we'll come back and we'll talk about that and have a little fun with that in just a few minutes. So let's kind of get back to your story here, or your experience, surrounding this Mr. Coffee IPO and everything. What kind of lessons did you learn? Did it create any passion for you with regards to investing, or did you just get some experiences, some lessons, and you kind of put that stuff in your back pocket, and then further down the road you got more interested in investing?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really was the first step to witnessing how the real world works.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of before everyone's parents, they worked, everyone was kind of in different spots, but we didn't really know why. We kind of knew if they were a doctor or a lawyer or a business person. We didn't really know, how they would ultimately get paid, right?
Yep.
So this was really an experience that really showed me kind of the details of how the world works.
Yeah.
And really hard work, quite frankly.
Yeah.
The people that we were hanging out with at that time were pretty much all working at Mr. Coffee.
Okay.
So the business was discussed a lot. Launching new products, like I mentioned before, was discussed a lot. Actually, back in that time, building products in America, that was a big thing, and Mr. Coffee was still manufacturing.
So you had the opportunity to hear firsthand before insider trading was probably even a big thing, right? I mean, obviously it became important probably, I don't know, maybe in the 80s, I think,
right,
when it really kind of flared up. But I mean, you had an opportunity, and you were just a young kid who obviously couldn't act on inside information. But a lot of the stuff that we listen to on our analyst calls nowadays, or that we get from our investment advisory or investment research firms that we have on retainer, is more obviously knowing the numbers is important. Right, and there's a lot of investors out there that just follow technical analysis, and they're just looking at price momentum and price action, stuff like that. And then there's fundamental analysis, which is more focused on the numbers and the story.
Right.
And you had an opportunity to kind of get behind the scenes or backstage access to some of the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, hey, we're going to roll. Now, I'm assuming you didn't track stock price movements at a young age and say, hey, they rolled out this potato spear. Look what the stock did, right? I'm assuming that was not the case.
Correct. But I mean, back then, my only access was really looking it up in the paper.
Oh, geez, that's right. I see. It's tough to even think back that far, right? I mean,
do you remember in high school? I don't know if your high school had it, but the newspaper was like on a big long stick.
Yeah.
And then you could take the stick and read it. And I think do we have like library time in school? I think we might have. Or maybe study hall was when I was doing that.
Yes. And I would go to the library instead of study hall. Right. That's what I did.
So no, unfortunately, I was not able to act on any of that.
Nor would you want to.
No, definitely not. But the watching of the development of new products.
That's awesome.
That's
cool.
Invaluable life lessons, right?
Yeah.
Taking something from nothing and seeing it get launched eventually.
Yeah.
Probably their most successful product for people listening out there was the iced teapot.
Okay.
So basically was really just kind of a gimmicky product, if you ask me. You could just put a bunch of tea bags in there and it would brew iced tea.
Yeah.
Right. But people love iced tea, and they just absolutely love that product. That was really the product that put them over the top. So, it's really cool to be able to have that experience. Watch it unfold. But
backstage pass for a publicly traded company, or a company that's ready to go public too. As far as that's concerned, that's really cool.
So I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 when this was going on.
Yeah.
But so I wasn't really comprehending everything.
Yeah.
But it really did kind of let me know what was going on and how things worked, and it was formative.
That's cool.
It really was.
Yeah, I remember when I first started to learn about stocks and mutual funds and stuff like that. I had a teacher in high school talk about if you were to get 18% in your mutual fund, like, here's how your money would grow. Okay, so this is back in the mid to late 90s, right? 18% in a mutual fund. And I had no idea what a mutual fund was. Right. I did not know at that point that a mutual fund is just an investment product that owns a bunch of stocks or bonds or whatever it is underneath that umbrella, right? So I'm immediately thinking, how do I find these mutual funds, and which mutual fund's paying me 18%? Like, almost like it's a CD. Mm-hmm. They don't work like that, right? But I had no idea, and I'm looking around. That's when I started opening the Cleveland Plain Dealer, which was I don't even know if it exists anymore. Probably once a week, if that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember looking through that and trying to read up on mutual funds in the newspaper, because that kind of perked my interest. But obviously, I could not find one that was paying 18%. All they gave me was some net asset value kind of number. There was no 18%. So, but kind of a cool learning experience. And then to top it all off, amazing what kind of returns were being talked about in the 90s. 18%. Mm-hmm. If you invest in a mutual fund earning 18%, and you start when you're 15 years old, and you God, you're a billionaire by the time you retire, right?
Yep.
Who gets 18% every year? That's wild.
We're not using 18% in our financial plans
No,
here for our clients.
no. That'd be, our own form of malpractice there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let me tell you a little bit about my experience with baseball cards, because I completely forgot about them. Really wasn't all that interested in even thinking about baseball cards ever again until ARAM started posting this stuff, and I just got angry. I got angry because I got swindled by the baseball card market. So as a young kid, this is probably when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. My dad had accumulated some baseball cards when he was younger, and he started buying my brother and I some complete sets of the Topps baseball sets, right? So every single year he'd get the complete set. So I think we had maybe like 84, 85, 86, 87, right? And my dad was buying those for us, more than likely based off of what baseball cards did throughout his childhood, back when they actually had a little bit of value.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So he bought those for us, and that really got me interested in beginning to collect cards. My favorite team back in the day was the Oakland A's. Bash Brothers, Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco.
We're finding out so much about each other. So I'm totally the same.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
an A's fan.
Oh yeah, I had
with those ugly uniforms.
Yeah, the Ricky Henderson batting gloves with the padding on them.
Yeah,
I had the green ones, even though our uniforms I think were blue. They looked ridiculous, but I still had them.
Love that team, man.
Oh yeah.
And when we were in college together, freshman year, that was the McGuire-Sosa home run race, right?
Yeah, we were watching that together. I'm pretty sure in the center room and
like reinvigorated baseball.
Oh yeah.
And then they deflated after their steroids. And now baseball is, definitely not very cool since they're not playing.
No, and it sounds like they might not even play.
God, what a bunch of idiots. All right, so back to my baseball card collection. So I started collecting, Mark McGwire rookie cards. Eventually moved into basketball, Michael Jordan's, and moved into football cards. Got my, Barry Sanders and my Troy Aikman cards. And D, for us back in the day, Beckett magazine was like the Bible.
Oh yeah,
right?
It would come in the mail every. Did you
month?
Have a subscription?
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah,
every month.
It was like the greatest day ever.
Right. So that subscription to Beckett magazine was like our trading costs, right?
Yep.
You got to be able to deduct that from your gains because it was a cost associated with investing. Now, let's just say it was $3 a month. I'm sure it wasn't that expensive. It seemed like a lot of money back then because I had no money. So Beckett magazine was basically the equivalent of the New York Stock Exchange.
Right.
You expected transparency. You expected them to tell you exactly what your card was worth. And you expected to be able to liquidate that card for said price when you needed to.
Exactly.
Right?
You're right.
What is the lesson we learned there?
Some of the information that they were passing along might have not been accurate.
Because of liquidity. Baseball cards were completely illiquid.
Yep.
Right? I mean, when I think of baseball cards, and I've actually gotten my son into collecting baseball cards, but I'm really trying to temper his expectations. He gets really excited. He got this chrome Francisco Lindor card. Topps Chrome. So I'm going to go off topic for a second, and I'm going to make a note here. We got to make sure we come back to this. So why are there so many freaking brands of cards? That's when cards failed.
Right.
Topps Chrome? What was wrong with Topps? Supply and demand, bro.
Yep.
Upper Deck, Fleer, Pinnacle, all these different card brands. And that's when we were probably junior high when we were really beginning to collect cards heavily. And there were just too many brands, right? You try and get a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. We all know the only one that was worth anything was the Upper Deck rookie card, right?
Is that even worth anything anymore?
I looked it up on eBay yesterday, and it's still $50. It's the same $50 that it was 25 years ago.
Oh, I remember it being way more than that.
Okay. I mean, I didn't search through a lot to figure out is this just a knockoff? Is it authentic?
Right.
So, I mean.
Well, the grading, I think, it has a lot to do with it now.
Is it in mint condition?
Right. Yeah.
Right. No bent corners. So I'm getting my son into it a little bit. We went to the home run derby last year, the All-Star home run derby. So he took a liking to Vladdy Guerrero Jr., who ended up finishing second. So I got him that rookie card. But, he's more interested in, like, collecting, what the heck do they call it on Fortnite? Skins on Fortnite.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's probably going to be worth more money than his baseball cards.
Probably.
Right? So, I started buying him some cards here and there, but we all relied on Beckett to give us transparency into the pricing, what we could expect to buy or sell something for. The problem that was never brought up was liquidity, man. And like I said at the beginning of the show, when I was in college, I was broke, man. I had no money. You guys all wanted to drink some beers on the weekend. I had to figure out how to join you, how to buy some beers myself. So I took all my best baseball cards, and I went card shop to card shop to card shop. And everybody turned me away. They wouldn't even buy one card from me out of the kindness of their hearts,
Oh, man.
So, one of the lessons I learned there was these things are about as illiquid as they come. Reminds me of penny stocks. Very thinly traded, not a lot of volume, very tough to find a buyer. So if there's no buyer, the card is worth nothing.
Right.
That's what it's worth. It has no value. And that kind of reminded me, like I said, of penny stocks. There's this one. This is before you joined us, Derek. But there was this guy who owned an investment advisory firm, I think in Michigan or Pennsylvania, right near us, who was trying to sell his firm to us. And Tony and I were talking with him, and like 80% of his client money was in a micro cap gold mining firm. 80% of his clients' money, dude.
Oh my goodness.
And Tony and I looked at, and he was willing to give us his business for a song. I mean, we were going to pay next to nothing. I looked at it and I said, dude, nobody's trading this stock. And he goes, but I got the CEO on speed dial.
Well, I hope you do.
You own 100% of his market cap, dude. Yeah, you better have the guy on speed dial. So liquidity, right? Baseball cards were not illiquid. So it's got to be more of a hobby than an investment, right? And I thought it was more than that back in the day. Shame on me. Shame on me for getting duped. Shame on Beckett for giving me prices that just never panned out.
Right.
We should file a class action lawsuit.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. What else do I want to talk about here?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the cards because with the Michael Jordan documentary, there's been his memorabilia has just been skyrocketing in price.
Really?
So it's kind of the law of supply and demand.
Yep.
That was a firm lesson that I learned from baseball cards.
Yeah.
The ones that were really worth a lot of money were the ones that there weren't too many of back in the day. And when you mentioned it, you hit the nail on the head. When these companies just started producing as many cards for as many different brands as they possibly could, we were kind of sold a bill of goods. Hey, this guy's a really good player. That card's going to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Made sense to a 12-year-old, but if there's a billion of those cards out there, they're really not worth anything at all.
Yeah, exactly, man. Supply and demand, buddy.
Yep.
The trade. Did you ever trade cards with your friends?
Oh, I was just thinking that.
That was the best, dude. I'd sit down with all my best cards. I would kind of like keep behind me.
Oh yeah,
right.
In the special box.
And I'd come out with the B tier cards, and just see what we could trade, right?
Yep.
See if I could swindle someone else, right? I'm trying to get that Ken Griffey Jr. card and give him some other bozo, and give him 3 bozos for the Ken Griffey Jr. and see if they'd bite. But trading cards was fun, right? And that's the same thing as trading stocks, right? I mean, you're not trading necessarily one stock for another. You're trading it on the exchange. You're getting cash, and then you're using that cash to buy something new. But it does bring home the fact that we all have a limited amount of money, just like we had a limited amount of cards in our possession back in the day. If I'm 100% invested and I want to buy Tesla or Microsoft or Apple or whatever stock it is I want to buy, I either have to create new money or I need to sell something else to purchase that other investment.
Right.
And why would I do that? Because I think Tesla, Apple, or Microsoft is going to appreciate faster in the future than whatever crappy stock I own,
Right.
GE or whatever, which I have no interest in owning that. But so, that I think there's some comparisons there, right? What about, so getting back to the Topps Chrome, right? So when my dad used to collect cards, and you look at baseball cards, Topps was really the main brand, maybe the only big brand.
Yep.
And then there were a few off brands. I don't know when they all came about, but everyone's aware of the Hannes Wagner card. What are there, like 7 of them maybe in existence?
If you guys like documentaries, check out the 30 for 30 on the Honus Wagner card.
Yeah.
Thing is incredible.
Is it?
Oh yeah, and it's only like 30 minutes long.
I'll have to check that out and cry myself to sleep. Oh, my cards suck.
Yeah.
But by the time like we were all going buck wild trading cards, you had Topps, Donruss, Fleer, Pinnacle, which made some really cool cards there towards the end. Upper Deck was like the hologram,
right?
Upper Deck logo. Beautiful cards.
This is the Cadillac of baseball cards.
Yeah. And I think when Upper Deck came out, that's when Topps just kind of went by the wayside. No one really wanted their Topps, to buy new Topps cards anymore. Yeah, I mean, just too many options, right? That's almost like having, too many smartphone makers. At some point, when someone else is able to commoditize an iPhone and give you the same thing for a much lower price, you see iPhone sales start to kind of taper off. Right. So, that was kind of a cool learning experience as it relates to investing in cards. Anything else you want to touch on there with regards to cards or?
I was just thinking about, so I mean, we've pretty much hit on every single major economic, theme that we learned in our college classes.
Yeah.
So supply and demand, scarcity of resources.
Damn, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
It's we work with clients, right? We have to make a deal with them every time that they sign up, and I think our clients are enjoying that deal since they all stick around. But it's that that's what I was thinking about when you mentioned trading. You're learning how to negotiate.
Yeah.
You're learning how to make a deal.
Yep.
And not just talk about it, actually get things done. That's a scary thing.
Yeah.
When you've had this one baseball card that you've been looking up the price every single month and
you're so scared if you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to trade this, and then the Becca's going to come out next month. What if it goes up again?
Yeah.
It's
you regret your decision.
Exactly.
Buyers or sellers remorse.
Exactly. So it hits on
behavioral finance 101 right there, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's
so
for
for any of you who own cards, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They are just not worth much at all. I mean, with what's worth something? Hannes Wagner and Mickey Mantle. That's about it.
Yep.
Is that
it? Well, a little spoiler alert. The Hannes Wagner, the Wayne Gretzky one. I guess we're all 90s today. I don't know if you remember the David Copperfield, the magician.
I made a mistake of going with my wife, my brother-in-law, and one of our friends to see him in Vegas when we were older. Grown people, adults. That dude loves himself. He had like a 10-minute intro to this show, which was all about like him being referenced in Friends episodes, and I'm like, hey, you think you're David Copperfield? I'm like, this dude he's a creep, man. He loves himself too much.
Yep.
But yeah, all right, finish your story. I don't like him.
So he had a TV special where Wayne Gretzky was the owner of the Hannes Wagner card, and he ripped it in 4 different pieces and then put it back together. But since everyone who's owned that card, the value has gone up exponentially from
David Copperfield ripping the one up.
Yep. I won't give any more of the story away on that one. But that is really the only good baseball card investment of all time.
So that was basically a pump and dump on the part of David Copperfield, because he probably owns one of the other ones.
Yeah.
So he ripped one up to increase the value of the one that he's got, right? That's your pump and dump strategy.
Well, he put it back together.
World.
He put it back together. It was magic.
But it's flawed now. It can't be mint condition anymore. It's near mint now.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff, man. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I think that's pretty much it, man.
All right, fun show today. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email, info@swpconnect.com. That's info@swpconnect.com. Check us out on YouTube. All that information's in the show notes. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.